Merhabalar, hoş geldiniz. Sevda Öncelbat ben, BEB British Education Büro kurucusuyum. Aynı zamanda eğitim direktörüyüm şirketimizin. Vaktinizi ayırdığınız için teşekkür ederiz. Bugün çok değerli bir üniversite, Newcastle Üniversitesi ile bir araya getirme şansımız oldu sizleri. Çok yararlanacağınızı düşünüyorum. Yetkilimiz Stephen North da elinden geldiğince hem şehri hem de üniversitenin kendisini anlatıyor olacak. Ben çok kısa İngiltere'deki eğitim sistemiyle ilgili bildiklerinizi aslında belki de hatırlatmak istiyorum. Çok fazla tutmayacağım sizi ama sözü yetkilimize vermeden önce birkaç slaydım var sizinle paylaşmak istediğim. Öncelikle BEB kimdir? Bu organizasyonu yapan ve Newcastle Üniversitesi'nin resmi temsilcisi olarak biz kimizle başlamak istiyorum. Biz Türkiye'de Newcastle Üniversitesi'nin resmi temsilcisiyiz. 2002 yılında Oxford'da kurulduk. İngiliz ve Türk kuruculara sahibiz. 18 yıldır da daha fazla hatta belki de 19 diyebiliriz artık. İstanbul, İzmir ve Ankara'daki ofislerimizde Türk öğrencilerimizin Birleşik Krallık'ta eğitim almalarına vesile oluyoruz. Onlara destek sağlıyoruz. Uzmanlık alanımız İngiliz eğitim sistemi. Üniversitelerin giriş şartları, başvuru süreci, lojistik dağılımdan orada sizi nelerin beklediğine kadar bütün detayları bilgi olarak sizlere aktarma şansımız oluyor. Bu konuda uzmanız. Tüm danışman kadromuz bizim bu sisteme, İngiliz eğitim sistemine vakıf. Bu konuda da sürekli kendimizi yeniliyoruz, eğitimler alıyoruz, almaya devam ediyoruz. Birleşik Krallık'ta 130 tane devlet üniversitesi vardır. BEB 90'ın Türkiye'de resmi temsilciliğini yapmaktadır. Temsilciliğini yaptığımız üniversitelerimiz için ücretsiz hizmet sunuyoruz öğrencilerimize. Üniversite seçimini neye göre yapmalıyım der bazen öğrencilerimiz. Özellikle genç yaş öğrencilerimiz, undergraduate dediğimiz. Çok kısa hemen değinmek istiyorum ben birkaç noktaya burada. Ülke seçimi çok önemli. Öncelikle hangi ülkede eğitim almak istediğimize karar vermiş ve kararlı bir şekilde yola devam ediyor olmamız gerekir. Ülkeyi seçtikten sonra bölüm seçimi okul seçiminden önce gelmeli. Çünkü Birleşik Krallık'ta her üniversitede her bölüm mevcut olmayabilir. Bir de üniversiteler UK'de özellikle başarı sıralamasını konu bazlı alırlar. Yani her fakülte aynı oranda başarılı anlamına gelmez İngiltere'de. Dolayısıyla öncelikle bölüm seçimi yapmalıyız. Bölüm seçimi sonrasında da hangi okulu seçebileceğimize bakabiliriz. Okul seçimine baktığımız an itibariyle de farklı kriterler karşımıza çıkar. 130 tane üniversite var. Neye göre ben bu seçimi yapmalıyım şeklinde. Elbette öncelikle başarı sıralaması. Başarı sıralaması sonrası belki şehir tercihiniz olacaktır. Küçük şehir insanı mısınız, büyük şehir insanı mısınız? Ne tür bir şehir size hitap eder? Ya da belki de lojistik olarak seyahat planlaması noktasında çok daha rahat ulaşabileceğiniz bir şehir tercih etmek isteyebilirsiniz. Kampüs üniversitesi mi olsun, şehir üniversitesi mi olsun şeklinde üniversiteler ayrılırlar. Bu da bir kriter olabilir sizler için. Sosyal imkanlar önemlidir. Seçeceğimiz üniversitenin ne tür sosyal imkanlar sağladığı bize akademik eğitim yanı sıra sosyal açıdan ne şekilde donatacağı da ayrı bir önem arz eder. Milliyet dağılımı arzu eden öğrencilerimiz için de çok şeffaf bir şekilde paylaşılır üniversiteler tarafından. Bu da bir kriter olarak belirlenebilir. Seçimlerimizi bu doğrultuda yapabiliyoruz. Birleşik Krallık 4 ülkeden oluşuyor. Burada gördüğümüz adanın en üst kısmı, kuzeyi yani İskoçya. Newcastle aslında İskoçya sınırında, öyle düşünebilirsiniz. Biraz sonra Stephen çok daha detaylı bilgi aktaracak. Ülkenin batısı, adanın batısı Galler burası. Bir de Kuzey İrlanda var burada. İngiltere'de geri kalan kısmını oluşturur. 130 devlet üniversitesi demiştik. Yok denkliği birçok üniversitenin mevcut. Yani Türkiye'de eğitim kabul gören bir sisteme sahip. İnteraktif bir eğitim vardır. Yani sizi de aslında sisteme dahil eder, eğitime dahil eder. Lisans eğitimi İngiltere'de, Galler'de ve Kuzey İrlanda 3 yıl, İskoçya'da 4 yıldır. Lisans öncesinde mezuniyet notu yeterli olmayan öğrencilerin dahil olabileceği, katılabileceği bir foundation yılı vardır. Bu foundation yılı da 1 yıl sürer. Böyle bir sistem mevcut. Lisans eğitiminde 3 yıl olarak bahsetmiş olduğumuz eğitime sandwich year ya da work placement year denilen bir program entegre edilebiliyor. O zaman 3 yıl olan eğitim 4 yıl, İskoçya'da 4 yıl olan eğitim 5 yıla çıkabiliyor. Bu seneler undergraduate öğrencisinin işe yerleştirilip iş tecrübesi edinebileceği programlar. O yıl öğrenci okumaz, profesyonel olarak işe başlar ve profesyonel olarak da para kazanmaya başlar aslında. Genelde 3. senesinde olur. 1'i 2'yi okur, 3. senesinde work placement'la iş tecrübesini kazanır. Akabinde tekrar okula döner ve son senesini tamamlar, mezun olur. Böyle bir programdır. Çok da tavsiye ederiz biz öğrencilerimize. Çok paha biçilmez bir tecrübe kazandırır çünkü öğrencilere. Yüksek lisans eğitimi 1 yıldır. Yüksek lisans eğitimi öncesi de eğer not ortalamamız yeterli olmazsa tıpkı undergraduate foundation'ı gibi yüksek lisansında bir foundation'ı var. Ona pre-master deniyor. 1 yıl pre-master programına katılıp öğrenci notunu yükseltip istediği üniversitede eğitimine devam edebiliyor. Doktora eğitimi ise 3 yıldan oluşuyor. İngiltere'de, özellikle Birleşik Krallık'ta mezuniyet sonrası 2 yıl oturma izniyle iş bulma imkanı sağlanmaya başlandı. 2020 mezunu öğrencilerimiz bu imkandan yararlanan ilk öğrenciler oldular. Bir de en güzel özelliği bence dünya başarı sıralamasında ilk 100'de olan üniversitelerde eğitim alabiliyor olmamız. Ben de İngiltere'de master yaptım. Oxford Brookes mezunuyum ben de. İngiltere'deki üniversitelerin başarı çıtaları çok yüksektir. Başarı çıtaları yüksek olduğu için de dünya sıralamasına baktığımızda genelde ilk 100 ya da ilk 150'de olan üniversitelerde eğitim alma şansına sahip oluyoruz. Az önce 3 yıl olarak bahsettiğim lisans eğitiminde 3 farklı bölüm eğitim sürecini biraz daha uzun bir yıla yayarak tamamlıyor. Bir tanesi tıp. Tıp okumak isteyen öğrencilerimiz 3 yıl değil, 10 yıllık bir eğitim sürecinden geçmek durumundalar. Mimarlık ve hukuk için de buna benzer bir süreç var. O da mimarlık ve hukukta 3 yıl sonrasında eğer yurda dönüp, Türkiye'ye dönüp kariyerimize Türkiye'de devam edeceksek 3 yıllık eğitimimiz kabul görür. Ama Avrupa'da ya da İngiltere'de bu alanda kariyer yapmaya devam etmek istiyor isek o zaman 7 yıllık bir eğitim sürecini göze almamız gerekiyor. Gördüğünüz üzere yelpaze çok geniş Birleşik Krallık'ta. Aklınıza gelebilecek her türlü program mevcut. Biraz sonra Newcastle'da hangi programlar var yetkilimizden de dinliyor olacağız. Benim bahsetmek istediklerim bu kadardı. Hatırlatmak istediklerim belki de. Spesifik sorularınız olursa her zaman bizlere ulaşabilirsiniz. Memnuniyetle yardımcı olmak isteriz. Ben şimdi sözü yetkilimiz Stephen North'a bırakıyorum. Stephen, thank you.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining us here at this virtual event. It's a shame that I can't be there in person. I do enjoy traveling to the region and spending time in Istanbul, Izmir and Ankara. And I'm hoping it's not going to be too long before we can actually do that again. But in the meantime, I'll try and give you as much information as I can kind of remotely via this virtual platform. So thank you very much for SEVDA and for BEB for setting up this opportunity. So if you could just bear with me, I'll just share with you my presentation screen. And I hope that you can actually see this now. So
yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So so my name, as I mentioned, is Stephen North, and I'm the regional recruitment manager for the kind of Middle East and Turkey. So it used to be the Middle East, but they've added on Turkey as a specialist spot for me. And it's quite nice because it breaks up my journey when I do travel to the Middle East. I can stop off and use kind of Istanbul as the kind of a hub for travel to the region. So it makes the journeys a bit shorter than they would be normally. So what I'm going to try and cover in the kind of presentation is to go around things like why you might want to choose Newcastle. So there's going to be different sections that are highlighted. We'll come across those. So we're going to talk about the university, the city, the campus, academic support, student experience, cost of living, accommodation, and global reputation. So there's quite a lot to get through. That you might be put off this 45 slides. A lot of them are just the photographs, so hopefully it's not just you listening to me waffle on for an extended period of time. So first of all, we are an international university, so we have over 120 different nationalities studying at Newcastle University, of which Turkey, we've got around about 50 to 60 students, and that will be a mixture of undergraduate, postgraduate taught and postgraduate recruitment. But also it's not just the students, we've got staff from outside the UK, so I'm good friends with some of our Turkish staff. So these are staff who qualified in Turkey and they've come to the UK and now work with us as academics. For some of those have kept their links with some of the institutions they used to work with in Turkey. We've got around about 5,000 international students. That number will rise now that Europeans are now classed as international. So around about 5,500 to 6,000 international students. And we did have 4 campuses. That's now dropped down to 3 because we are in the process of closing our London campus, which was just for the business schools. So I'm not going to talk about that there, but it's still there physically because we've got students who are being taught out there. So in terms of Newcastle, first of all, where is it? So for those who don't know, the UK, so England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland is the United Kingdom. We're located in England, but close to the border of Scotland. So if I click on the next button, it'll just highlight there in red. So we're in the northeast of England, so close to the border of Scotland. So by train to London is 3 hours, just 90 minutes by train to Edinburgh. Edinburgh is sometimes useful, especially if you're in Istanbul, because there's a Turkish Airlines flight direct to Edinburgh. Otherwise, you might need to come in via Heathrow or maybe Manchester and then go by train to the university as well. But Edinburgh is good to mention because there is that, and I think it's a daily flight, if not twice a day flight from Edinburgh straight to Istanbul with Turkish Airlines. 2 hours, 35 minutes by train to Manchester. 3 hours to London. The quickest train's about 2 hours and 40 minutes, but on an average, it's around about 3 hours. Flying time to London is about an hour, so it's a bit like going from Istanbul to Ankara. To Paris, around about 2 hours. Amsterdam, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Berlin. Dubai, I leave in there because sometimes people go via that route if it's a good option in terms of the cost. But most students I know tend to fly directly or via Heathrow as the main option. And these are some of the photos of the city and the surrounding area. So Gray's Monument at the top left. So people look at it and think, is that Nelson's Column? Is that London? No, that's Newcastle. Gray's Monument, if you've ever heard of Earl Grey tea, that is a monument to Earl Grey. So the name of the tea, Earl Grey tea, actually originates from Newcastle. So it's a blend of tea involving bergamot, but it was named after Earl Grey. For those who are used to, so if you're in Izmir, you're used to being by the coast and by the sea. We are by the sea, so just about a 20-minute metro drive, a metro journey to places like Long Sands Beach, which are some of the cleanest in the country. So nice places to go. Some people do go there surfing, maybe just go walking. Obviously, the temperature is a bit cooler than it is, probably in Turkey. But again, it's nice to go there, especially when the days are nice. And Newcastle on a river, so a bit like Istanbul, although they've got the sea through it, we've got a bit of a river. So we've got twin kind of cities or towns. So one side is Newcastle, the other side is Gateshead. but there's about 7 bridges that cross it, and obviously they're a lot shorter than the bridges are in Istanbul. And then Jesmond Dean, so the bottom right, that's only a 10-15 minute walk from the main university campus, so not too far away from the campus. You're in the countryside, you're in quite peaceful regions. So again, these are some of the benefits of being in Newcastle. And then a bit further afield, you've got places like Lindisfarne, Holy Island. You've got protected species like puffins. So those are the birds on the kind of top right. So those are into things like the environment, ecology. They want to go out sightseeing. Plenty of things to see and do very, very close by to the university. I think we've got more castles in the area than anywhere else in the UK. So for those who like a bit of history, yeah, really good place to come and visit. So it is a lively and a compact city. I think the latest QS Top Universities ranking, we came out as the joint most affordable city in the UK. I think we were joint with Aberdeen as one of the most affordable cities. And the reasons they look at is things like the cost of living, the access to facilities, and also things like transportation costs, cost of accommodation, all those kind of things. Newcastle is a very compact city, and we'll get to that a bit later. In terms of local life, we come in the UK ranking as 4th for local life, so people enjoy being in Newcastle, so the students enjoy being in Newcastle. Students do get discounts, significant discounts in the city, so always useful if you want to go shopping, buy food. There are benefits there for being a student, and it's seen as one of the safest and friendliest cities in England. So again, useful to know if you've got any concerns about safety, security, that shouldn't be really a consideration. So invariably, it's quite lively with lots to see and do, but obviously during the current climate, things are maybe not quite as busy as they would be normally, because at the moment with COVID, things are being locked down. We are currently under lockdown, which is why I'm speaking to you from my desk underneath the stairs at home. So apologies if you hear a dog bark or kids playing with games and things like that, but it's the environment that we're in at the moment until things change. But as a city, normally there's lots to see and do, lots of activities. Student nightlife is typically very good, but I think things like that are going to be changing for most people anyway. But we're hoping that things will be back to normal by September, inshallah. We keep our fingers crossed, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. As a city, we are well connected. So again, good transportation links I've mentioned. So it's an international airport. You've got the direct flights to London, Europe, trains. You can get around the city, around the country very, very quickly as well. Surprising, the next one is we are statistically one of the driest cities in the UK. And people don't believe that. They find it hard to believe. But when you actually look at the number of days of rain and average rainfall, statistically we are. And for those who don't believe me, there's a little link there if you want to go and follow that up as well, so you can see how we compare to some of the other cities in the UK. And one of the reasons for that is, yes, we're by the coast, but most of the bad weather tends to come from the other side of the country. So it comes really from the west, that side, it coming across, and in the northeast, by the time it gets to us, it's had to go over mountains and hills. So most of the rain's dropped out. So by the time it comes to us, there's not that much left. And lots to see, as I say, nature, beaches, historical architecture, leisure activities with Premiership football team, top tier in terms of basketball for the country, lots to see and do. So we are a city centre campus, and this is a shot of the main Students' Union, which is the kind of a slightly lighter building on the left-hand side, and the building on the right is the older bits of the university where you've got the arches. And these are photos, so close-up of the main university. So again, that's the Students' Union on the kind of top left. The top right is the quadrangle, which is the kind of enclosed courtyard in the middle of the university. You get access to that through the arches, which is the bottom left with the twin arch, which is kind of synonymous with Newcastle and appears on a lot of our kind of marketing material. But also within it, for those who maybe have to do a foundation year, because sometimes people think the foundation year might be somewhere else, it might be off campus, might be somewhere separate. The bottom right is our into Newcastle University, so that is where people would do the foundation and maybe pre-sessional English for those who need to do it. But again, that is on campus. So again, from where I work in the Kingsgate building, this is about a 2-minute walk away from that. So again, very, very conveniently located. And again, a city centre campus, so there is a metro system. So for those who are used to metros, there are only kind of 2-3 main lines available, so it's easy to get around. But as I say, most places are in walking distance. So if you go to the airport, it's a 20-minute metro ride from the university, and to go to the coast, it's a 25-minute journey to the coast. But there are 2 routes you can go. You can go a longer way and a shorter way, depending which way you want to go. But easy to get around. And again, this is a map which shows you, so the dark blue are the kind of main university buildings. So you can see for such a small city, the university takes up a large proportion of it. So yeah, the dark blue, those are university buildings. So the main block is in the kind of top right area. And then on the kind of center bit near the football stadium, we've got our newer bits of the campus. It's what used to be the old brewery site. So so if you've heard of Newcastle Brown Ale, that's the place where they used to make it, but that's been since moved, and the site's been redeveloped and is now becoming incubator units for the university. It's where our business school is located, our School of Urban Sciences, which is where computer science fits, and our Helix building as well. And it's where we also have lots of the kind of spin out spaces as well. So for these, maybe for people who want to do incubator units for setting up their own company, those can be based in that area because it means you've got good access to the rest of the city. But you'll notice there from those, you can see where the city centre is from the main campus, you cross a road, you're in the city centre. So it's very, very, very central. So it's a case of it's very difficult to say, when people say a city centre campus, they expect it to be buildings spread out across the city, like maybe Manchester, or they expect a campus one to be off the university, away from the city. Newcastle is quite unique in that it is a campus in the city. Sorry, my mouse has just decided to go walkabouts. In terms of rankings, globally, we're a top 200. So the QS World Rankings are the latest ones. This is 2021, we're 152nd. The Times University Rankings, the latest 2020, we're 178. So that's a good position to be in. It's very, very competitive to be in the top 200. It's very difficult to stay in there as well because lots of people are improving all the time. In the UK, we're a top 25. So the Complete University Guide, we're 23rd. In the QS UK guide, we're 22nd in the UK, so a good ranking for the university. Key things for the international students, things like student satisfaction, and for us, one of the good ones we had was an iGraduate survey, and this is a survey that was specifically for international students. And the average across the board tends to be around about 88% for your student satisfaction. We came out with 93, which is well above average. And when students were actually asked, would you recommend your university to others? We actually got 98%. So for us, that's even better. So it's a case of, yes, most of the people are satisfied with their university, and vast majority, even more, would actually recommend Newcastle University to their friends. We've got very, very good graduate prospects. So we're normally in the kind of top 10 for the UK graduate prospects. So that's based on the latest Complete Universities Guide. Research Power, it's an older ranking, but that was when the last Research Excellence Framework was taken, 2014, but we came out 16th. So again, 170 odd universities in the UK, and out of those, for the kind of Research Power, because of the research we do, we came out 16th. But we are one of the top 20 universities targeted by employers. So for people looking for things like placements, for people looking at things like employment opportunities when they graduate, it's a good university to go to. And you'll notice at the bottom, we're part of the Russell Group of universities. So that's the group of the 24 most research intensive universities in the UK. Teaching Excellence, we got the Gold Award, which is the highest award you can get. And we've got, I think it's 8 QS stars, so it's QS plus stars. Key areas we're really good in the UK, so art and design were second. Third for anatomy, physiology, communications and media, East Asian, South Asian studies. fourth for agriculture, oral sciences, creative writing and dentistry. But we got 12 subject areas which are classed in the kind of top 10. So again, to have, most universities tend to be known for one or two things. They're good at one or two things. We're good at many things. And we've got over 20 subjects that are ranked in the top 20 in the country as well. So for a very broad university with a broad range of programs, we are good in lots of different things. Specifically, our business school is one of only 90 business schools in the world that have the triple accreditation. So that's the AACSB, which is the American University Rankings, EQUIS and AMBER. So, there's some figures there which tell you how many business schools have the various rankings, but only 90 have all three, and we're one of them. So in terms of the programs, as has already been pointed out, so bachelor's degrees, mainly 3 years, some maybe 4 years if you want to do maybe like a year work placement. So some of our undergraduate degrees have the opportunity for a work placement built into those degree programs. But there are some programs that are slightly longer, particularly medicine and dentistry, which are 5 years. Postgraduate masters, normally 1 year. We do have a small number of 2-year ones, but the vast majority would be 1 year. The difference is at the postgraduate talk level, it would be 12 months, not 9 months. And then for kind of research degrees, so doctoral programs, we're normally looking at a minimum candidature of 3 years. On average, I would say it's about 4 years for people to complete. And then we also have the International Foundation Year and also graduate diploma as well, which would normally be a 9-month or a 12-month program, depending on the level of English. And for the foundation year, we have 2 starts. So you have a September and January start. Whereas for the degree programs themselves, so most taught programs, it would be September only. Research degrees may have multiple start points, so you may be able to start in September, January, or April. I presume I don't need to go through much of this. So lectures typically 1 to 2 hours. They're the big high volume teaching, but obviously during the current climate, these are being done virtually. But what we're trying to do is at least have some face-to-face smaller group teaching when we're permitted to do so. During lockdown, though, we can't do that, apart from those subjects that do require explicit lab access, such as people doing medicine, dentistry, and some of the kind of health-related sciences. So those are still being done in person, but in a secure, COVID-safe way. We do have practical sessions, especially for those subjects like engineering, because you can't do things purely theoretically. You need to use the equipment, use the materials. All students will be given a personal tutor, so that will be an academic who's there to help them with anything academic related. But we also have something on the student side, which is a buddy scheme. And these would normally be other students who are maybe doing the same program as you. Maybe they're a 2nd or 3rd year student. And the idea is those are people you can go to and ask questions that are kind of not academic related. So academic related questions, you go to your personal tutor. If it's anything else, you could go to your buddy. And we also have, even for students before they arrive, a system, UniBuddy, where people, if you've got any questions about what it's like being a student, you can actually log into the system and ask questions. We normally do things like International Welcome Week, so it helps with induction on university, so meeting students at the airport, helping you get to your accommodation, and doing some activities with students on arrival before the University Freshers Week takes place. So Freshers Weeks would be organised by the Students' Union. Our Welcome Week is normally organised by the university to try and help international students in particular get more confident with their way around the university, to help with registration. And we normally let the international students arrive on campus the week before everybody else. So it's a bit quieter, they can find their way out without all the rest of the noise there. And then the rest of the students come and join a week later. Lots of resources, so we've got libraries which are open 24 hours. Most of the resources as well available electronically, so over 6 million ebooks available. We have writing development centres. So yes, we know you need an English language requirement before you arrive, but if you want to improve your skills while you're there, we've got free classes that are available to any student. So again, if you want to improve your skills, we've got free skills sessions available to you. For those who may be doing degrees that involve maths or maybe engineering, we've got maths aid classes available to be. Typically it's done by students, maybe students who study maths, and they're there to help, offering free advice to people who need help with kind of maths areas, as well as specific school facilities as well. And as I say, the building I work in is the Kingsgate building, and that's the kind of main point of contact for questions and queries. So things like accommodation, visa inquiries, tuition fees, those kind of things, student wellbeing, it's all in the same building. So you go to the Kingsgate building and it's the main drop-in centre for those kind of inquiries. So mentioned English language, for the vast majority of our degree programs, you're looking at around about 6.5. However, for some engineering, it might only be 6, but on average, it tends to be 6.5. We do have some pre-sessional programs. So for those who are coming maybe with an MEB scholarship, so you could probably do either the 6 or the 10-week pre-sessional program prior to commencing your studies. And normally the requirements for that will be 5.5 to 6. On the expectation, you can normally improve your grade by about 0.5 during that kind of period. To improve by more than that would normally take a slightly longer period of time. Entry requirements, I've got them there for the A-levels and the IB. So invariably, we're looking at an A and 2 Bs at A-level or 32 points in the IB. It may be higher, it may be lower. These are kind of typical kind of average grades. Some degree programs will have specific subject requirements. So for example, if you're applying for engineering, you need to be taking maths and normally one of either physics or chemistry. If you're applying for things like computer science, doesn't really matter, you can do anything. If you're doing for things like biomedical sciences, they tend to like the biology, chemistry. So the requirements will vary depending on the program you're applying to. So we always say check the individual page on the university website and it will have details. For those who are coming via the Turkish education system, they could do the university foundation year, or there is a list, and SEVDA and BEB will be able to share with those students who need it, a list of Turkish schools that we accept directly. And if they're coming via the Turkish qualifications from one of those schools, requirements would normally be in the region of 80 to 85% overall, again with key subject specifics requirements depending on the degree you're applying to. At the postgraduate level, we're looking normally for a first 2-1 or maybe a 2-2 degree, which equates to between 2.8 and 3 in the Turkish system. We appreciate that some of the Turkish universities are much tougher and have very harsh entry requirements. And there are some degree programs where we will also take into account additional work experience as well. So if you've got a slightly lower grade, it might still be worthwhile applying if you've got years of experience to support that academic, or if you've been to one of the kind of stronger, harder universities where we know the marking system is tougher, it might be worth at least making an inquiry to see if you'd be considered, and they might look down at the individual level. Ideally, we're looking for people with a profile that goes upwards. So we know that sometimes in Turkey, if you do really badly in your first year, you might get something like a GPA of 2, but that can then impact your average, that you will never get a really high GPA because of that first year. In the UK, for the vast majority of our students, the first year doesn't count towards your degree classification. So as long as you've got a profile that's getting better or improving, and if you could look to maybe, if I discount the first year, what would my GPA be? It might be worth making that argument. So again, it's something I tend to do for candidates who've got particularly strong second, third and fourth years and maybe just let down by the first year. We can try and make that argument. But ideally, we're looking for people to meet the minimum entry requirements. In terms of the way the university is structured, so we've got 3 faculties. So humanities and social science, science, agriculture and engineering, and the faculty of medical sciences. Which schools are that? So in humanities, social science, this would include those schools. I won't name them, you can see them. Most popular programs in the kind of humanities area tend to be things like architecture, marketing, so that could be business or marketing, and then maybe the LLB in law. At the master's level, international business management, law, international relations, and then architecture. So on the basis of historical applications from Turkey, these tend to be some of the kind of more popular degree programs. In science, agriculture, and engineering, and in particular engineering, the disciplines we do are chemical, civil, electrical, marine, mechanical, and renewable energy. Renewable energy, I know, is a priority for lots of countries. So it's an area of specializations that we have. We've also got then natural environmental sciences, which are more the kind of traditional sciences. So the hard science of biology, chemistry. And then we've also got master's science of physics and computing. Popular courses again, so undergraduate level, computer science and civil engineering at the moment seem to be the most popular. And at the postgraduate level, things like mechanical engineering, transport engineering, planning and management, biomedical engineering. So if you're looking at things like prosthetics, those kind of things, artificial skin, and then geotechnical engineering. In the medical sciences area, so the schools include biomedical and biomolecular, obviously the dental school, the medical school, school of pharmacy, and psychology as well. Popular programs, the MBBS, that's the medical degree, the MPharm, which is a 4-year undergraduate master's, and then also the BSc Biomedical Sciences. The master's level, the most popular program at the moment is the MSc Foundations in Clinical Psychology, but be aware that tends to have an early application deadline and is also very, very tough to get into. Typically, candidates need to get the requirements before they would be made an offer, including English. They tend not to be as flexible as other degree programs. We also have a Master in Public Health, and obviously for all our degrees, we have options to do PhDs. In the medical sciences, they're normally PhDs in either the areas of biomedical or biomedical sciences. For the other kind of faculties, it would be normally dictated by the subject area they're doing. Fees, for those who need to know, undergraduates, humanities around about 18,600. These are the 2021 fees, and engineering up to 23,400. The two outliers in terms of higher fees are the medical degree and the dental degrees, and that's per year. So that's not the full program, that's per year. So very, very expensive, but people doing medicine, dentistry, they know the fees are going to be expensive. There's no such thing as a cheap medical program. Postgraduate, it will depend on the program, especially if you're doing research projects, but anywhere between 18,270 if it's humanities, up to maybe 35,960 if it's a medical involving lots of intensive lab-based that really needs specialist materials and equipment. So the more specialist the research, the higher the fees tend to be because of the equipment and material costs associated with it. Scholarships, we do have some. So for Turkey in particular, we have our BEB Excellence scholarship. So there's one undergraduate and one postgraduate taught, but it's worth 50% of your fees. And that's 50% of the fees for the duration of the program. So for undergraduates in particular, that's very worthwhile. But there is an application deadline of the 25th of March, 2021. And it's a post-application scholarship. So you have to apply, you have to get an offer, then you apply for the scholarship. So make sure you apply, get the offer, and then you can apply for the scholarship. This is only for self-funded students. So if you're MEB sponsored, you're not worried about this anyway. Also for those who are maybe elite athletes, so maybe if you're good at particular sports, and maybe you're representing your country, your county, that kind of thing, we have some sports scholarships as well, which could be up to £10,000. So again, if there are any people who are really good at sports and you want to continue doing that at university, there may be funding available for you as well. So undergraduates, as you're aware, you apply through UCAS. I don't know if you're aware, they've just extended the deadline for UCAS applications for this year. So it used to be the 15th of January. That's now been extended to the 29th of January. I think they did that yesterday. For international students, normally the deadline's around about the 30th of June, but we sometimes apply and have later deadlines anyway. So sometimes they will be clearing. Postgraduate, the applications are done directly with us, but they can be done through BEB and via our application portal. The link is there. Deadline will vary, so some will have an early deadline, such as orthodontics and restorative dentistry. I think the deadlines for those have already passed for this year. But normally we say allow at least 2 months before the start of the program, because you've got to have time to look at your application, make you an offer, and then you apply for the visa as well. With our Indu Centre, obviously, you know, that on campus, academic English courses for those who need longer, pre-sessional programs, 6 or 10 weeks depending on your level, and then foundations and international year 1. International year 1 is a combined first year of your degree and a foundation year all rolled into one. But I always say to students, check to make sure it's recognised by the ministry. If it's not recognised, do a foundation the first year of the degree, then you know, your degree. Accommodation, most is within 10 minutes walk of campus. So vast majority now is self-catering, so you cook yourself. You know, most of the new accommodation on campus is what we call ensuite. People don't like sharing bathrooms. I live in a house with 4 daughters. They don't like sharing bathrooms. Unfortunately, it's a necessity. But when you get to university, you probably want your own space. So the vast majority of the new accommodation will tend to be your own study bedroom with your own private bathroom. But that will dictate the price. So average price anywhere between £335 to £715 a month, which works out the lowest end about £84 a week. Yeah, at the top end, you're around about £170 a week. And so you can see where things are. This is a kind of a slightly different map. So the kind of Newcastle University is there, and the kind of blue blobs are the university accommodation. The orange ones, those are what we, some of those are postgraduate, some are undergraduate, but they're all within 10, 15 minutes walk of the university campus. So it really depends on where you want to be located. So we are seen as one of the most affordable student cities in the UK. Now, the latest figures say that the average cost of living in the UK is around about £770 a month. So that would be the average. However, the Home Office in the UK says for visa purposes, you need to have proof of funding for at least, and I think the current figure is around about £9,250 or roughly 9,500. And that's on the basis of 9 months of study. And the figures that we've got there, those are what we call comfortable lifestyles. We know it's flexible. It depends on your own personal preferences. It depends on your tastes. Some people might want to go out more. Some people are quite happy to stay indoors and read a book and just watch Netflix. It really depends on lifestyle choices. If you like eating lobster, it's a lot more expensive in the UK than it is elsewhere. So again, it's down to your own preferences. But I think the figures that we have there, they are what we call reasonable costs. It could be lower, it could be higher, but I'd rather be sensible in terms of the amount. For those who are on MEB scholarships, I've not heard of any students who've struggled at all. Your money goes a lot further in Newcastle than it would do, for example, in London. And to give an idea, an indication, these are the kind of rough estimates in terms of what the cost could be. So starting from the kind of top left, you've got the accommodation cost. Then food, obviously it depends on how much you eat, the kind of food you eat. Things like social activities, again, depends on how much of a social butterfly you are, how much you want to go out, how much you like to go out, and the kind of things you like doing. Personal expenses, clothing, again, subjective. But those will give you an idea of the kind of cost. You notice for transportation, it's down there anywhere between £0 and £60. Most places are walking distance. So if you walk everywhere, no cost. So as we mentioned before, in terms of student satisfaction, very high. So 8th overall in the last International Student Barometer. We've got over 200 societies, over 60 sports clubs. So you name it, we probably do it. And one of the top student unions in the UK said, we think we came out 16th best in the UK. So it's a really good Student Union, lots of things to see and do. There's also within the Student Union the opportunity, if there's a club that isn't catered for, if you can find enough people who are interested in, you can set it up yourself. So if there's a club that's not there already, you know, set one up. Lots in terms of the sports facilities. Given that we now offer degrees in sports and exercise science, it means our gyms are pretty good. Yeah, very good facilities, very good fitness suites, exercise classes that can be built into the cost of your degree. We can actually, when you apply to the university, you can apply for a sports user card, which gives you access to the gyms, the facilities, and lots of free classes. So if you're going to do jazzercise, boxercise, judo, aikido, taekwondo, yeah, rowing, all those kind of sports are available at the university campus. One of the things, and it's one thing that surprisingly undergraduates seem to think about a bit later, and actually should be thinking about from day one, is careers. Because we know university is a stepping stone only to jobs, careers. The last bit of education you do before you go out there to the big wide world and have to make your own way. So we have a really good career service. It's multi-award winning, has won multiple awards, very, very good services, very good in terms of things like spin out companies. And there've been some very good success stories with Newcastle graduates and alumni who've gone on to launch their own businesses at the end of it. So again, it's a service there that's available to students from day one. So when you arrive on campus, go along and see them, take your CV, ask for advice on how you can improve it. Find out the kind of careers and job opportunities depending on the degree you're doing. They'll tell you which companies are going to be looking, when they're going to be looking, how you apply to these companies. They can give you practice interviews. They can talk through things like assessment centres. So lots of advice there, because we know how important it is for you to get a good job. Because if you get a good job and we helped you, hopefully you'll think kindly on us later on when you're a multi-millionaire and you want to bequeath some money to your alma mater. Yeah. And again, for sports, yeah, historically we didn't offer degrees in sports and exercise science. And the reason we started offering those degrees is because we're good at sports. Our students are very, very competitive. They're good at sports. We were typically in the top 10 in the British University's collegiate sport, which is BUCS. And we've been in the kind of top 10 for the last 4 years. Last year was a bit of a annus horribilis. Not much sport happened because of the kind of lockdown. But typically we're one of the better universities for sports. Our boat team has been crowned the Henley Regatta champions for the last couple of years. So people think of rowing as Oxford and Cambridge. No. It's a case of it can be other universities as well. And we've had people who've been on to represent their countries at various sports as well. Basketball, our two Newcastle teams are in the national leagues. So it shows you the level of basketball that we have. So it's a case of, yes, we compete in the universities league, but our teams are so good. I think they're in the second division of the basketball league in the UK. So it's a pretty good standard that you're playing at. And I kind of leave on this one in particular because for those who maybe are looking to self-fund their degrees and maybe looking at the option, and it's something that only was announced in 2019, and we're still waiting for all the documentation to come through, but post-study work is going to be available for graduates. So it's people who graduate from 2020 onwards, as long as they're in the UK by, I think it's currently April 2021. So once they graduate from this year, they will be eligible to stay and work in the UK for a period of 2 years after they graduate. We used to have this scheme several years ago, that it was taken away. This has been brought back. And it means you've got the opportunity to stay in the UK, get experience without the hassle of trying to find a work permit. So you've got that 2 years opportunity to work in the UK, get employment, and then after that, apply for a work permit or go elsewhere. And I always say to students, why would you only want to work in the UK? Most of our graduates are international students. You can work anywhere in the world. And having gone to another country to do your degree, you've already said to a potential employer, you could go anywhere in the world and do a good job for them. So I say, don't be blinkered that UK is your only option. I'd say it could be one of the options. It's nice to have an option, but I want our students, and most of our students, to be global citizens, and that's what we try and push and promote, that our students are global citizens and ambassadors of the university. And at this stage, you're probably fed up of listening to me, so I know that there have been some questions that have been popping up, and I'll just move on to the last one. For those who want to get in touch with me directly, that's my email address there. All these are general inquiries, but I'd say I'm doing the event with British Education Bureau, BEB, so you can get in touch with the staff there and they'll be able to help you. And the advantage of speaking to them is they can speak to you in Turkish. I can't, unfortunately. So thank you very much for your time. And I think Imran's going to go through some of your questions and I'll try and answer them to the best of my abilities. So thank you. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
So thank you very much, Stephen, for your great presentation regarding Newcastle University. And we already have several questions on the chat box, and I will help you to get them out. So the first question is, do you have a neuroscience master's program?
So I think we do have it, but it's what we call, it's an MRes in neuroscience. Now, the thing is with an MRes, it's what we call a Master of Research. So there will be some taught components of it, but by far the program is more research orientated. So the master's degree is 180 credits. The research project on the MRes in neuroscience is 100 credits. So it's more than half the program is a kind of research project. So it could be a lab-based research project. So students need to be aware that it's slightly different than maybe a traditional taught master's they're used to. It will have more of a research focus there, but yeah, there is an MRes program in neuroscience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is there any work placement option for law courses during the, I think, program, during studies?
So within our degree programs, there will be lots of degree programs that have an integrated work placement built in them, but all our degrees, regardless of whether it has one built into the program or not, has the option of what we call integrated study. So normally what would happen is after 2 years of study, so when you're in your second year, you can look to see if there are any options for work placements. What you can then do is that we can transfer you, even if the program doesn't exist for your subject, onto an extended program. And the key thing is you still have to pay a registration fee to stay in the UK and stay registered with the university, but that means you don't need a work permit. So it does happen. Yes, there is opportunities for people to do that. We do have people who've done what we call integrated study. So there are those degrees where it's built into the program, but for those that don't have it built in, it is always an option. So for those students who want to get work experience whilst they're studying, it's an option to do. And sometimes I say to students, this is a good option because the competition for a graduate level job is high, it's massive. Everybody wants a graduate level job. Not everybody wants an internship. So there's less competition for the internship. But sometimes when you go for your graduate level job, there's a catch-22 situation because you go for the graduate level job, what's the first question they ask you? Have you got any experience? And if you've got no experience, it's very, very difficult. But if you've done an internship or you've done a work placement during your degree, you can say, well, actually, during my degree, I spent a year working for this company. This is the kind of stuff I did. Here's my reference. So for the person giving you the job at graduate level, you're less of a risk. So yeah, I always say to people, think about that as an opportunity. Normally students who do work placement, you're offsetting your costs. So yes, you will still have to pay a small amount of fees. You're still going to have your subsistence and all those things to cover. But in most cases, the money you earn from the job you're doing covers all that for the year. And in some cases, might give you a bit of a surplus that can make life easier when you get to the final year of your studies. So always think of that as an option. It's a good way of doing it because it avoids the need of a work permit. And it means that when you graduate, you've got that additional advantage of a degree, having freshly graduated, but with work experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You already mentioned on the presentation, but the question is there any scholarship opportunities?
Yeah, so as I say, unfortunately, only a limited number of scholarships. We know that the vast majority, I'd say, postgraduate students applying from Turkey at the moment tend to be MEB sponsored anyway, so they're covered. But for those who are self-funded, so at undergraduate level we have one, at postgraduate level we have one. but it's a high value scholarship. So it's worth 50% of the tuition fees. So if you're doing engineering and your fees are 23,000, that's 12,000 pounds per year. So for the master's level, that's just 1 year, but for an undergraduate degree, that's over 3 years. So yeah, well worth getting if you can get them. And I always try and give them every year, but sometimes they don't always get taken up. So yeah, it's sometimes nice to know there's an option there, but be aware it is competitive. We always try and give it to the best student. Yeah, so think about it if you're applying. Yeah, but remember, it's post-application or post-offer. So apply, get an offer, then apply for the scholarship. And then if we offer you the scholarship, fingers crossed, you accept and you come. And then you'll find it's much more affordable.
Yeah, thank you. Again, the similar question: do you offer academic excellence or international student scholarships for your MA education program?
The MA education that would could be with somebody applying as a master's. They would your postgraduate top programs, so that could include that. And again, we don't have degrees for specific programs. It's a scholarship for any top master's student. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do we have a pre-master program for electronic and communication engineering?
We don't have pre-masters for engineering, I'm afraid. We have pre-masters for humanities, so like business, for the kind of social sciences, and maybe for architecture, but not for engineering at the moment. I think maybe Manchester offer one, but I know that we currently don't. I keep on saying we should do, but we don't have it at the moment. So watch this space, maybe next year, inshallah.
And another question is there a direct entry to master program after pre-masters?
We don't say direct entry because you're still going to meet the threshold requirements. So typically, if you do the pre-masters programs, they will tell you when you start, a bit like when you do the foundation program, they say you need to achieve this level to progress to the degree. So it will be clearly stated from the start, so you know exactly what you need to achieve in order to make that transition. So it's not guaranteed. So you don't get it through a certificate of attendance. You've got to actually perform to the level required to progress to the degree.
Thank you. How long is the course period in master's degree?
So typically at master's level, the vast majority will be just 12 months. So that's normally the 2 semesters of taught programs, and the last semester is finishing off your project or your dissertation.
How important is to write a good personal statement? How important is it about accepting applications to get an offer?
For me, yes, and I'd say for undergraduate students in particular, this is the only space you get in the UCAS form to tell us about you as a person. So for me, use that space. This is you marketing yourself to the university. I'd say in some cases, it's probably less critical. So in some cases, they might look at other factors, maybe the academic qualifications you're taking. But for me, this is the only chance you get to tell us about you as a person, your aspirations, your hopes, your background, your interests. So you've got a limited space. So I'd say, make good use of it. The hard thing as well with UCAS personal statements is you can't mention a particular university, because as soon as you mention one university, the other 4 universities you applied to think, well, they don't want to come to us. So you've got to keep it vague. But at the same time, it can be used as a tiebreaker. So when we've got 1 place left and there's 3 candidates there, that's the stage we look at the personal statement and we say, okay, who's got the best personal statement? We know your references are all going to be fantastic. We know you're all going to be doing very, very kind of similar qualifications, but why should we give the place to you and not somebody else? So that to me is where the personal statement comes into play. So I know that sometimes people think, oh, nobody reads it. I worked as an admissions officer for 20 years. I read the personal statements. Sometimes you could see where they're being cut and pasted. Don't forget nowadays, we can run personal statements through Turnitin, so we can check for plagiarism. So again, make sure it's your personal statement. Don't copy your friends, because we find out. And again, if you're applying to university, plagiarism, that's a no-no. That's a bad thing. So don't get into the habit. So think about it. This is your personal statement. Tell us about you. For me, I always had pet hate. I hate people who start off with the quotation saying, this writer said this, and I believe in this. And I'm thinking, really, at the age of 16 or 17, do you really believe in that? Yeah, let's keep it real, okay? But use that space. And I say for anybody applying for the personal statement, it should be, it is a personal statement, it's your statement about you. Why do you want to do that particular subject? Okay, you can't mention at university, which particular university, unless you're applying for postgraduate, in which case, yes, you can mention that specific program and that specific university. But for undergraduates, keep it vague, but tell them why you're interested, what's your motivation, what's your plans when you finish your degree as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do I still have to provide my IELTS score for master's program, even I finish my bachelor's degree 100% English?
If it was 100%, but it's in Turkey, yes, you would still need an IELTS score. So at the moment, if you've done your degree in a majority English-speaking country, so if you've done a degree in the UK, the US, Australia, we normally accept that within 3 to 5 years. But if you've done a degree in Turkey and got 100%, you still need a language. The language condition, don't forget, is a visa requirement and not a university entry requirement. So again, we always like to see that kind of evidence. Also, if you're thinking about applying for scholarships, that's normally a requirement anyway. So you don't need to have it at the time of application. You just need to indicate that you will be taking it at maybe some future time. And so we can make that maybe a condition of the offer. So the offer might be on you getting a good grade in your overall, but then achieving a certain level of English as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do you check the GPA of master's degree or bachelor's degree for doctoral program entry?
I think we always focus more on the kind of more recent. So yes, we will look at the first degree and the master's, but again, normally when you're doing a research degree, it's about the project you're putting forward. Yes, you still need to have good grades. But, they need to know that you've got some kind of competence there. And we appreciate that sometimes people can improve. And we've got academics that they know their first degree grade wasn't that good because maybe they weren't as focused, but they did really well in their masters. So therefore, it would really depend on the kind of project you want to do, the kind of research level. And I would say anybody applying for a PhD, look at the research areas we've got, look at the kind of research expertise we have, look at maybe at some of the projects that we are doing, and then make targeted approaches. I think for most of the engineering, they normally say, try and find a supervisor in advance. So look to see who's doing research in the area you want to do and start a dialogue via email. Top tip though for PhD candidates, your first email, do not send your research proposal in the first email. I would say, because people might see that as spam. So for me, it's always about first impressions. So first start could be a very short email that's going to take them no more than 1-2 minutes to read, to say, hello, my name's so-and-so, I did my master's here, I really want to do a research degree in this area. I noticed that you do it because I've been on the website. I really enjoyed your article on, would you have capacity to supervise a research project in this area? I look forward to hearing from you. And then what you do is you wait for them to bite. It's like fishing. You put it out there, you're waiting for the little nibble, and they say, okay, I'm interested, send me more. At that stage, send the information. But if you send it, initially, how many people have got the time to go and read through a 1,000-word research proposal? Not many. So I'd normally say, keep the first email short and sweet. In some cases, they might say, submit an application. The other thing to bear in mind is as well, if you're going to send an email to the university and to an academic, remember who you've sent it to and how many members of staff you've sent it to. Sometimes people use what we call a scattergun approach. So they find the faculty, they find every member of staff in that faculty, and they send an email to every member of staff in that faculty. These academics talk to each other. So bear that in mind. So if you're going to send it, target it 1 or 2 people. If you're going to send it to more than one person, tell them in the email that you've also sent it to another person. Because if it's a research in a particular area, those people probably speak to each other on a daily basis. And what you don't want is for them to say, oh, I saw this really interesting research proposal today from a Turkish candidate. And then the other one says, was it this student? And they said, yeah. Oh, I got that one too. Automatically, they think you've sent it to everybody. They don't realize you've sent it just to 1 or 2. So think about things like that as well. So yeah, applying for a PhD, we know it's difficult, but don't make things more difficult for yourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is it possible for international students to get a REBA or ARB Part 2 qualification after completing 1 year architecture program?
So normally for some of our programs, especially for the MArch, you need normally the kind of REBA Part 1 before you apply, and you've got to then apply for it yourself. So REBA and ARB have a list of universities and programs that they recognize that you can gain. If people do our programs having already got that, then that can lead to, so our undergraduate degree is ARB and REBA accredited. So if you do our degrees, yes, you can get that. And maybe if you do our MArch, yes, you could get that afterwards, because you must have met the REBA ARB accreditation requirements to get onto our MArch programs in the first place. So I would say yes, but I am aware that the REBA and ARB are changing their accreditations as well. So who knows, this may be a kind of moot point in about 2 years' time.
Mm-hmm. Thank
But
you.
currently I know that our degrees are accredited, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How will COVID situation affect next academic year?
Who knows? Yeah, it's yeah. I was hoping to be back in the office. Things were looking as though things were going back to normal, and then this new strain, I think you're currently saying it's South African strain of the virus, which is spreading. So things were getting back to normal, and then we've had a little bit of a setback. But at the same time, we've now got vaccines, so we're looking at the vaccine program that's been rolled out. So yeah, I'm hoping that September is going to be more normal than we're used to. I'm still hoping that maybe by March, April, things are returning to normal. I hate to say that this is the new normal, because I don't want it to be. I remember what it was like. Yeah, we might see people wearing masks a bit more frequently than we've done so. Maybe, people washing their hands a bit more than they used to, which is always a good thing. But in general terms, I would say we have to watch this space. I am still very, very hopeful, though, that by September things will be back to as much as the normal as we used to. But again, we don't know. It's a pandemic. It's global. We just have to watch this space. I see in certain countries they've got it sussed. I'm just a bit disappointed. Unfortunately, I have no control over our own government. And again, we're all in that same position. We can do our bit, but ultimately it's down to the leaders of the country to kind of sort things out. But I'm hopeful by next year, inshallah, back to normal as much as we can be.
Okay. What documents or qualifications do we need to have for the scholarship?
So normally for the scholarship, as I say, it's a post-offer application. So you apply for the degree, you get an offer. So it could be a conditional offer, and then you submit the application. So it's an online application form. So you put in your application number, your details, and there's normally about 2 or 3 questions that they ask you. Watch out for the trick question. One of the trick questions is, who's going to pay your fees? And the answer to that one is me. Because if you say you've got other funding, that means you're not eligible for the scholarship. So yeah, bear that in mind when you're applying. But yeah, for me, it's typical exam technique. Read the question, answer the question. If you've got 500 words, use 500 or as near as 500 as you can. If you make a lazy application where you use 100, yeah, you might get rejected. I know some of the people who do the kind of vetting and the verification of the scholarship applications, because I get to read them all. Yeah, so it's a case of make a good application, spell check, things like that.
Thank you. More specific one, do you have a ship engineering course?
We have degrees in kind of marine engineering. So yeah, so for us, it comes at our kind of marine technology side. So we've got marine sciences. So that's the seas, things that live in the sea, but we've also got the marine technology. So we've got things like offshore engineering. We've got marine engineering. So it would be down as ship, but it's down, if you look, it would be either offshore engineering or marine engineering.
Thank you. Could participating in a project or publishing an article have an effect on getting a scholarship for master?
It probably wouldn't affect the scholarship Yeah, but I think it's sometimes helpful in terms of if you're applying for a kind of PhD, if you've already got stuff that's kind of published, but at the same time, they don't want you thinking that, oh, you know it already. So we know that by the time people are doing their masters nowadays, it's more common for people to get articles, journal articles published. It would depend on the quality of the journal, yeah, because we know there are some that are better than others. Yeah.
Thank you. What's the required grades from A2 level?
So for A2s, it depends on the program you're applying to. So for example, if you're applying for medicine, 3As. If you're applying for law, 3As. If it's for some of the kind of Bachelor of Engineering, it might be, you know, an A and 2 Bs, including maths and physics, or maths and physics, chemistry. So it will vary depending on the degree program. But if you go to our university website, if you search for the course you want to do, it will have the specific requirements for that program. So that would be A2 at A level, the IB, Indian Standard 12. Also, you've got some guidance there for Turkish qualifications as well, but it would depend. With Turkey, it's got to be one of the kind of, there's about 50 schools that are set for direct entry. So yeah, so if you've gone to the Koç school, that's going to be fine. And there will be some others that are seen as really, really good schools, but there may be other schools where we say you really need a foundation year. But yeah, BEB will be able to help you with that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Is there any deadline for applying a PhD course?
The key thing with the PhD is just think about when you want to start applying. And I always say to people, don't even let funding be a kind of a factor. So sometimes people say, I'll wait till I get funding, then apply for a PhD. Sometimes the funding can follow an offer. So I normally say to people, apply for the PhD, think about when the start dates are. PhDs normally take longer to apply for. So for most postgraduate applications, we normally try and turn things around within 10 to 15 working days. For a PhD, it might be a month, because we've got to try and identify a supervisor, we've got to see if they're interested. There might be some kind of back and forth trying to work out what it is you actually want to study. So I say, make sure you leave enough time for it. But I would say initially, do some research, look at the research that we do. And again, I appreciate how much work's involved in people applying for a PhD. I'm more than happy to try and offer advice and help and guidance to people if they've got any specifics. So again, if they want to get in touch directly with me afterwards, I can give some pointers about how to look for appropriate supervisors, look for kind of research projects. Yeah, I don't mind that. But I would say with any application for postgraduate study, think about when the intakes are. So, you know, for most masters it's September, but in some cases you might apply early because there are scholarship deadlines you need to do. So if you want to apply for things like tutoring, you normally need to get an application in by November. If you're applying for maybe one of our scholarships, if we've got a deadline of March, you know you need to get an offer by that stage. So don't leave it too late. For PhD, it's different. So it could be at any time. But then you're looking at, okay, when is the next start date for that program? So for some degrees, we have September, we have January, we have April starts. For some other PhD areas, it's September only. So it will depend on the subject you do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Do you offer job opportunities related to the department during the engineering master's course?
I think it really depends. At the master's level, it's difficult because it's a one-year, very intensive program. So there won't be the kind of opportunities within the kind of placements. So placements normally would be kind of like half a year, full year. And within a one-year, 12-month program, you don't get the opportunity for that. You will get to do projects, you'll be introduced to companies, but don't forget with the new post-study work opportunities, there will be opportunities for people to get that experience after they finish their degree. So again, historically, when they finished their degree, they had to go back home. With the new system that's just been brought in, students, if they've done a master's degree, will have the opportunity to stay in the UK. And I would say it depends on the industry. So if you think at the moment, the chemical industry in Newcastle or in the Northeast, which is where a lot of the chemical industries are based, it's an aging population. So people are getting older, which means they need younger people coming in as engineers to take the places to keep the industries going. So there will always be opportunities in certain areas, in certain disciplines. So I normally say to people, if they're looking for those kind of opportunities, look at the kind of industries that are available. There will always be some. But again, don't just be narrowly focused and blinkered about UK only. You should be thinking globally. Some countries pay even more than we do.
Thank you. Do we have to pay any amount of money in order to apply for a master's program?
I think that we have a small number of degree programs, and it's in high demand areas such as some of the kind of business programs where they do ask for a deposit, or there's not actually an application fee. Now, the application fees are normally fairly minimal, so around about £50–60. For the vast majority of degrees, there is no cost associated with applying.
Thank you. I am a biomedical engineer. However, I got the MEB scholarship on biotechnological pharmacology on drugs, but I have to study drugs and pharmacology before. Would I be accepted for a master's degree?
Interesting question. What I probably need to do, kind of a bit of research on that one. I think that's, I know we got degrees, so things like industrial commercial biotechnology, which is more like, we also have things like drug chemistry. We have those specific degrees. I think a lot of it is just looking at those. In fact, while I'm speaking to you in the background, I'll just have a quick check on our website, see if we can find what the specific subject requirements are. So for all of our degree programs, if we require a specific degree beforehand, we will normally state. So if you're looking for something, if I do a quick search for the biotech, I won't share this just in case. Industrial and commercial biotechnology degree, if I look at the entry requirements, we're looking for people from either biology, biotechnology, bioscience, biological sciences, or pharmacy. So it could be from any of those kind of backgrounds to do the degree in industrial and commercial biotechnology. So don't automatically think that to do a specific program at master's level, you need to do that. Some of our degrees at master's might be more of a conversion. So for example, computer science. So you get people going from engineering, English, business, and doing masters in computer science. We've got a conversion. Similarly for business, we got lots of people who do maybe their first degree in engineering, and then they need business skills to be able to get promoted. So what they can do is they can do our degree in international business management, which will give you the kind of key skills you need in the kind of business area. So it really depends on the individual program, but it will state on there if there's a specific subject requirement. But for that kind of inquiry, maybe that student, if they want to follow up with me directly, we can do some further investigation.
Thank you very much. I'm checking whether is there any more questions.
That's good. My time is yours.
Yeah, I think we already covered all the questions. Thank you very much for your time and for your great presentation, Stephen.
Thank you very much. And apologies that you've had to listen to me just via this tiny screen. It is much more fun when you get to do things in person. I am looking forward to being able to renew that as soon as I can. I know I've got some flights that I paid for British Airways that I had to get a voucher back because I had to cancel. That was my last trip to Turkey, which was supposed to be March. And then I changed the flights to June, and then I've had to cancel those as well. They're postponed there. So I'm hoping I get to use the vouchers before they expire. So yeah, I'm looking forward to travel in the not too distant future. As I say, go back to the, speak to members of staff from BEB. They will put you in touch with me if you need to get in touch with me. But I say to everybody, just stay safe. I think today, it's a temporary situation. Things will improve. At least we're not America, so we've got that to kind of look forward to. Because I think that things are even worse. But inshallah, things will improve. But keep our fingers crossed and stay safe.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you very soon in Turkey again. Take care.
I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. Çok teşekkür ederiz. Vaktinizi ayırdığınızda, dahil olduğunuz webinarımızda. Bir sonraki webinarımızda görüşmek dileğiyle diyelim. İyi akşamlar diliyorum. Hoşça kalın.